PPC, the Paladins Pro Circuit Community Broadcast. I'm Fawn, joined here by Kresnik, and we'll be going into the final region, which is the North American regions versus two teams that got some pretty amazing players on both sides.
Yeah, you can say that for sure. I think especially some of the changes that Snappin has made, I would feel. I know Almost and Flame FX out, both talented players last split, but they've brought in one long-term, I think, successful player in Stigma, the sniper main himself, forcing Knessa Strix on any map that he wants to play it on, and Reincarnated, someone who's been competing in Tier 2 tournaments on Orange Juice, and every time I'm spectating them, I feel like I literally cannot take the camera off of that man. He just never stops. He doesn't stop just rolling over the other team, so him being picked up by this talented roster, I think, in Snappin', it's a boon for them. They were looking pretty good as the split was closing last phase. I think with these changes, depending on how they gelled, I think they could look even better.
I agree with that too, and I mean, I'm so glad that you brought up the obviously the roster change of Stigma, because I remember back the first time it was, and I was casting him, and I remember it was me and you, and I was like, is he drafting like Knessa on purpose? And you're like, just watch, and immediately everything was made clear to me, and I believe it was the first time I saw him was Knessa on Ice Mines, and I was like, I'm not sure if this is actually gonna work out like that, but you're literally just like, just watch Fawn, trust me. And so I'm glad to see him returning for sure.
I gotta say, the first time he did it, I'm like impressed that he can get away with it, but I feel like he might have ruined my ranked games. Not about playing Knessa, but just people being like, yo, I watched Stigma play Kin on Ice. So like, I can do it. Like, no, please, not you, Johnny Boy 02157. Like, no, he's like, no, bro, I got it. Chill. We got this. We win. And spoiler, we did not win. But so, he's still able to do it. It's still very impressive. And I'm sure we're going to see it if it's not banned. But this first map, it is banned. It's Splitstone Quarry, Snappin's pick, and Flashpoint ban Knessa and Strix, so they clearly know who they're up against.
Right, and with Knessa and Strix both being gone, you get rid of both of the snipers, but you also get rid of Zen and Genos on the other side. You get rid of one of the pocket healers, and if we learned anything from the first region, it's the fact that you at least need to want to try and have a Corvus on your side of the team, right? And it seems like both Brazil and it seems like North America, once it is that we actually end up loading and showing off the game, that they do end up locking Corvus on their side on Snappin's team.
Because we are in the real world and not the bizarro world that we, for some reason, were in for 5 games straight in the first game of the day. Splitstone, looking at this, I think Snappin', interesting roster, solo tank ROM coming up for them as I fly us through the different talents here. I don't think there's anything too surprising, but I have to highlight them all anyway. Burst Mode, Cursed Revolver, Enforcer. I know we've actually, for Leon, we've been seeing some different, I think, choices from her, at least in some, I believe, earlier games. We saw some precision coming out from the Leon. I think that was Sanguine the Cool, running that. Could be an option. I know sometimes Eminence, sometimes you only get the 800 even a distance, so precision could be more consistent, but Desheko willing to bet on that Eminence, going Haven to win those duels a little bit easier against the triple Haven backline, and hopefully he can live through the pressure coming out from this wood knock ROM.
Hopefully he can indeed, as everyone starts to meet around Lava, and in the middle, the fight has already begun. A couple of opening shots directly from Rubu onto Woodknock means that Rom is a little bit lower than he would expect, but the man's got 2 life bars. He's not going to go down anytime soon, especially when he starts running, but a good rewind from the Atlas makes it a little bit easier for him to deal with, and a lot harder for Woodknock to get out of that situation.
Reincarnated disengages there pretty effectively too. Rubu caught in. Once you use your rewind, you really have no other options, and Rian is already in over here on the side. 2 or 4 scout, and this should help Snap and win the point fight unless Doe manages to get away.
You see Andrew firing into the high ground almost instantly the minute that he knows where people are. Nara, aka Dosips, being on the side by the fidget spinners means that he's already pretty low and has to concede the point presence. They get rid of him, and now they've set their eyes on the high ground and on the rest of the team of Flashpoint. 36% garnered for Snappin' as Andros dashing around all over the place and trying to hit marks on different targets.
I think Stigma, pretty hard to contest right now. They really have no way to get on him unless it's T-Mac, and T-Mac is constantly dueling into either Reincarnated or Evil Eye. Here on this high ground. Woodknock also making a mountain of space here in front of them. Literally just cannot be killed by the lack of cauterize, and with T-Mac going down, they just don't have the damage to burn through the Demon from Hell himself.
Yeah, as soon as T-Mac goes down, Dosems follows soon after, almost in a deja vu type of scenario, where this happened literally a few seconds ago. They ended up losing them control over the fight, and now it loses them control over this situation right here, as the first point is given to Snap, and now everyone's all the way towards their spawn, but they may have bitten off a little bit more than they could chew, considering the fact that they're all being lowered pretty considerably. My goodness, see that Dombo, that health, almost abysmal.
If he had poked out an inch in either direction, a airstrike was primed to land right on his head. Engagement potentially from Flashpoint behind the shield, but they're afraid to push past this shield. They're letting Woodknock, look at this, soaking up all the aggro from their flanker, and these double backlines are relatively uncontested. They were disconnected and they go down.
Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah, Andrew already pushes in through the mine shaft, comes right around and picks off the targets that were already focusing on Rom. Now that he tries to heal him back out, Mount Damba realizes that most of his teammates are already gone, so Vex is going to retreat back to spawn and wait for everyone else. As soon as they find the opportunity for them to try and push in, it seems to be snatched away from them almost instantly. What is it? Is it the draft? Is just Andro on point right now? Like, what is causing this to happen?
I think it's Rom on point, because they keep turning to kill Woodknock, and perfect to curse it on!
Oh my
right in the face of Rubu, and the
goodness.
CC immunity completely denies that exile.
Okay, I mentioned the Andro being on point, but now it's getting past the point where you mentioned the Atlas, sure, great. But that accursed arm could not have been better timed than that. That is absolutely nuts. This man knows what he's doing on this character.
Yeah, I think we might need to see Andro taken out of the pool if there is
Yeah.
I mean, it's the PPC. There's good players. They're gonna be good at Androxus. You know you gotta deal with it. Only one death across the entirety of Snappin' right now, so I guess my question of have they been gelling is, it's like one of those Dr. Scholl's commercials. They're clearly gelling right now all together, even with kind of the limited scrim time I'd say they've been able to have.
Yeah, and I'm sort of impressed by, and you mentioned the Rom before with Woodknock. What is he doing that is making him so effective that people can take into their own games?
Rom things. He's just running in. He's
There we
living
go.
through their damage. He's fighting people they knows doesn't have cauterize, and I feel like he's going to be more aggressive onto Fish now as opposed to fighting Rubu and T-Mac, because they have cauterize enough to kill him. He'll fight other people who can't stop him from getting all that self-sustain.
There we go, the Corpse ultimate directly on point. Dosems conceding point for once again as T-Mac is brought extremely low. Dread Serpent into no one that is around that particular vicinity, as Woodknock has already drawn so many eyes towards him. However, he is going to be the first one to go down. Not T-Mac, not Dosems, but they might be following soon enough as Evil Eye is up here and already a good enough spot. Uses the blast shot as well, disengage Bolt, and that's another good kill, but they're going to trade out Evil Eye for it.
Look at this pressure. Stigma, Reincarnated both drop down, and the lanes are just open for them to burn through. Fish Echo doesn't get anything out of the Enlightenment, and now it's just Doe against the world to buy time. They're going to get this kill. They're going to zone forward. Woodknock has been so good about saving his run. I feel like I never see him use this Juggernaut unless he absolutely needs it. So he holds onto it, doesn't use it to rotate forward from the zone. Everyone's already been dismounted. I'm not sure how Flashpoint are going to break through this without that much mobility on their team.
As soon as they peek, the accursed arm forces out the divider, and that's going to be huge, especially since they were using a lot of that to try and get through. Uses the alignment from across the map, gets the hit, but Stigma is the one that capitalizes on the kill. Now we have Reincarnated once again going in by the fidget spinners and finding that pick. Ruben finds the only kill on his team in this kill feed in the form of Evil Eye, but the rest of them are down, just like I was saying before. Ruben's one of the only last men standing, and that is going to be it. Divider goes out to keep himself a little bit alive, a little bit longer, but it's not going to be enough as the point is still captured for Snap.
Look at this presence they have right now across the map. Reincarnated might go down finally, but the speed from Elusive actually keeps him in, and Woodknock might be able to even follow up on this. Doesn't have the run anymore, but Wall, he can actually knock this wall down, and he will, and it kills Fisheko with it.
Yes! Bring the house down, baby. Oh my goodness, the ultimate gets utilized, and as soon as Dosems tries to keep that ROM from moving it any more forward, he's already ready for it with an ultimate of his own to make sure that they can capitalize on the kills, the positioning, and the payload push. Now they have plenty of pressure and zoning capability to make sure that Flashpoint have a hell of a time getting back to the card.
That was a lot of alliteration at the start, Fawn. I was actually worried about where you were going to find more P-words to keep going with that. Midnight, not a P-word, but still being used by Flashpoint to get in aggressively onto Stigma. T-Mac, he's losing track of him. He just has to run away. He can't even be in the fight, completely isolated, and Stigma hunts him down.
Time to skedaddle. He just wants to get the situation. He wants to find a way out, but he can't. All he's done is just run literal circles around them and ends up right back where they wanted to be anyway. They still get the pick, maybe even staggered himself out a little bit in the process of that happening. Use the barrage to try and find an opening. The alignment gets utilized. Doesn't find the smartphone Evil Eye like he may have wanted. Pacheco was right there. Emote's around the corner, but he already knows the team is waiting with open arms and bated breath for him as Snappin take that first victory.
And just non-stop, really. I felt like no one could really win a fight, and that's just Corvus for you.
Yeah.
That's Corvus. When you have a pocket on an Androxus and a Victor all game, I'm sure Evil Eye probably didn't get it as much, and that's why he died. And if I remember correctly, I don't think either of them did. Just about the frames at the moment right now, by the way, not sure. We had an issue earlier. Not sure what fixed it. It stopped eventually, so hopefully it will happen again. Maybe we can avoid taking a break. Those frames hopefully stop dropping, but still, Snappin', I think, looking great. I actually want to double check. I have a little stat line I can see to find out if anyone died, because I don't think they did. Let's see, statistics right here in front of me.
The last comment was that I saw.
Bone Stigma and Reincarnated didn't die.
Okay.
The entire game.
Okay. Yeah, that not only is that insane, but I did see a couple of kills on the side of Flashpoint, but still, that is a perfect way of phrasing it, is the fact that, they didn't die. Dude, there's not really, I don't even know if there's really anything it is you can say about that except for the fact that they were on point. That's exactly what you like to see. Yeah,
the heals were kind of spread, I would say, or the kills were kind of spread, across for them. T-Mac, the only one without a kill, but it's just so tough, I think, he did end up top damaging, just couldn't finish anybody off. That's what Pacheco and the rest of the team were managing to do. It's so hard to win into a Corvus early game. They just spread that healing. They have 2 marks. They're healing a third person. They're getting 25% lifesteal, especially think about that combined with the Victor. He just got his Predator nerf to 25. Stack those up with diminishing returns. That's over what he used to have from the start of the game. The nerf is basically null and void, and Victor was a high priority pick and ban last patch. They let him go because they don't want to get the Corvus with him. Suddenly, Victor is doing everything he was doing before.
And at the same time, they, like you said before, they did leave the Corvus open, but instead banned the Genos as a way of sort of, I guess, mitigating more of that pocket potential. But at the same time, we've seen it today multiple times. What is making these teams prioritize the Genos over the Corvus? What is it?
Damage. Teams just think that the damage is going to outpace the lifesteal, because you think about it in late game, you're cauterizing lifesteal, but you're doing nothing to damage boost. No matter what, that damage boost, even if you kind of flatly reduce it with Haven or Blast Shields, if they also go Haven or Blast Shields, they still have the advantage in that fight. The 1v1, the fight still ends up in favor of the team that has that damage boost. But the Corvus, the lifesteal, winning those duels and also getting healed no matter where you are on the map. Corvus isn't really limited by range like Genos is these days. Genos, we know he used to be that kind of omnipresent, mark you wherever you are and keep you in the fight healer. That's Corvus now. That is what Corvus does now. He can mark from anywhere, more or less. The range is massive. He does need one person in front of him, but that's not hard to do. Play on your Victor. Play on your point tank. Play on whoever you need to do to keep your DPS playing these off lanes in the fight and in advantage against whoever they're trying to duel.
Well, that definitely being the situation, that means that Corvus should be at least looked at, especially from that last perspective. I mean, like
I'm just laughing because I know you're thinking about that EU set from earlier where he just didn't see any play whatsoever. Like, yeah, that does sound really good. That's crazy, huh? I know he's
absolutely insane.
He's gonna find his way into the ban column. I'm almost positive moving forward, because I have the ban column for the next game here. It looks like Flashpoint's map pick this time. It's not a loser's pick yet, but it is just happens to be their map pick now. Jaguar Falls. Flashpoint banned Corvus and Rom, so 2 of the key factors in what let them keep their advantage against Flashpoint in the last game. And Snappin banned Xin and Genos. So Genos again targeted. Don't want to give up that pocket healer pick to the first pick, which is Flashpoint this time. And Xin, just solid on this map. Cleaving auto attacks will do a lot of damage to the backline if they can't stay alive. Xin, hard to kill. Just get rid of him. We'll play other picks that we are more comfortable into fighting.
Right, exactly. I mean, once again, both of those pocket picks being gone means that it opens up a slew of different healers that can be picked and prioritized instead of the ones that may have been the most optimal in this situation, or at least specifically in this patch. And Xin and Rom, like you said before, the fact that Rom is gone now, we saw a lot of Woodknock being a very omnipresent sort of character on Splitstone, where he was just running everybody down. Every time a wall went up, it came right back down thanks to the Rom ultimate. So him being gone means that once again opens up a lot of opportunities. Maybe even an Atlas can be picked like Rubu did last time.
Yeah, I mean, Atlas, he's great into aggression, so Rom being in the game, Atlas is great into him, especially if you run that Deja Vu. If you're comfortable with that, you get that sustain, you get that hard CC into the Rom. That's really hard to dive. Looks like the frames might have stabilized here, so we'll go into the next game and hope that it stays in its kind of safe place that it is right now. It looks like it's kind of on and off, but we will push through and watch this set because I want to see Snap and continue. We will persevere and always move forward here as we go into Jaguar Falls. Again, the pick of Flashpoint. I'll look at the draft as soon as it's ready. I will get you in there, but I can tell you the draft because I can see it. Looks like Snappin ended up with double tank again. Oh no, sorry, Flashpoint, excuse me, ended up with double tank. Barrick and Ash. Barrick, someone that I've kind of been critical of recently, I would say. I really think Barrick has kind of struggled into the hit scans that have been popular, and hit scans are definitely what Snappin have to show here. Androxus and Victor on their side as I pull us into the game. Victor and Androxus going to make that Barrick's life very difficult, but Flashpoint, they have T-Mac on this Bomb King, Fasheko on this Cassie to lock down some of these choke points, make it a little harder for them to duel. They're going to have to go through Woodknock on Inara, a scary prospect after what I saw him do last phase.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he has shown that he knows his stuff when it comes to frontliners, so I would be a little bit more concerned. I would be a little bit more concerned against him than a lot of other people for sure, especially after that last performance on Splitstone. But with the match starting on Jaguar Falls, everyone is getting to where they want to be, and most people stacking over here by the statue, which means that he's all alone, and Stigma has to forfeit some space.
Yeah, Fishiko already holding this right side as well. We're not getting forced back. They're all peeling back to deal with this Ash. How long can Ruber survive? Not very long in a dead zone with that Willow value potentially showing already. They'll have to disengage and just bleed through. They know they have a disadvantage, but if they put enough damage into one choke point, they might be able to find an opening pick.
The aggression is present as Fasheko tries to combat roll his way out. They do find a pick on Evil Eye, but at the same time, Fasheko is traded out as well. With 39% already on the point for Snappin, they want to be the aggressors instead of getting aggressed upon, but it seems like Reincarnated might have to reconsider his strategy as he has to back up. Both Rubu and Dosib's pumping damage into him makes it a little bit harder for him to stand where he wants to. A good one-on-one trade for Vex and Stigma.
And Rubu's still holding this Jag side as well, with Flashpoint still kind of racking up point time. I'm surprised Doe has lived on this barrack as long as he has, but it looks like he's kind of abandoned this point with the Inara controlling it for now. Still in the refight, but he's not being fought by any of the hit scans. That might be what it is. Stigma finally rotates over, but oh my god, so low, but dashing away. Gets around the corner. Flashpoint's still locking this space down.
The Grumpy Bomb gets tossed out, which forces them away from the point, but at the same time, they're still holding on. Plenty of life, plenty of health pools they can utilize. Fasheko gets at least pushed back a little bit as Stigma is now on the side, but may have pushed forward a little bit too much as they have now drawn a lot of eyes to him. But he's running, he's going, but he still gets taken down at the end of the day. Woodknock being on point means he's garnering percentage for his team while the Faith Light gets utilized. Evil Eye now has the Wings of Fury at his back as he is now looking for different targets. Woodknock finds one while Evil Eye finds a second one. That means they have more control over the point than the enemy team does at this point. Who tries to dash on, but blocked by the Earthen Guard and focused down by the Accursed Arm. Now, over time is said and done. Snappin have already won their first game.
Snappin are just doing more damage. I mean, they just got their ultimates charged a little bit faster. You can see they had some of them, but Rubu, 5% away from his. T-Mac just had his, but how do you King Bomb into the waiting team? Stigma so aggressive with this barrage, but has to run away. Negative value from that, more or less, and Snappin have to save Woodknocker. They're going to be staggering out and giving up this potential forward zone.
Evil Eye finding that kill. The T-Mac means that they can keep this card rolling, whether Flashpoint want to have a say in it or not. That being the situation, they now have to try to fight over Secret, and they find the kill directly on Fasheko. Now Rubu's in a bad spot, but he has the assert dominance, which is exactly what I was about to say. He's going to end up utilizing it to make sure that he keep this zone on the enemy team and hold their ground for as long as they can.
I like how Snappin played into the assert dominance. They knew it was coming. Rubu did so much damage at the first fight. They had Reincarnated Bones just far enough out of the range where even if he got the fast cancel on the roof, it wasn't going to do much of anything. And now the rest of Flashpoint kind of, I think, relying on those staggers got completely isolated. Pacheco might not even make it back to the spawn. He does, thanks to the somersault, but Woodknock is literally just running down these spawn doors, keeping them pressured, keeping them damaged. Now, I don't know if anyone can make it, especially with a perfect wall in the way.
Yeah, wall goes directly up and no one can. Barrick tries to skirt his way around the corner, but he can't make it there in time. That's going to be the second point for Snappin' with an Inflame as well. A Cursed Arm almost up, and the Faith Flight as well, along with the Seismic Crash. Barrage is the only thing that's still sitting in the mist. Is there anything that stands out to you that Flashpoint could have done better that round?
I think they just got poked out so hard, but I think they played the right way, but the fight can't go that long. The fight can't go that long. If it goes that long, then they're going to get more ultimates if they're the ones winning from poke as opposed to winning from sustain. The healing from Vex, I think, let me check out the heals here. The healing from Vex, a little bit less than Bones, actually, surprising. I think Domba's generally a higher throughput healer than Furia is, but when your team is dying or standing in a dead zone, it's hard to really keep up. Flashpoint need to win the fight a little faster, potentially, but there's a bunch of ults on the table for Snappin'. Can they live inside through that, don't get burnt down through the dead zone, and then re-engage once that those resources have been spent?
Dosa opting to give a little bit of more point control to Woodknock as his team is trying to roll right on through the back line, just like the Bomb King with the King Bomb, but another Accursed Arm reincarnated. Oh my goodness, going on a tear once again. This is the second time in a row this man has eaten a shot, or at least eaten an ultimate, I should say, and not cared at all about what the outcome could have been.
Yeah, perfect by him again, and getting the Furia heal at the last second. Like, if he didn't get Furia healed, he still dies anyway, but Bones in the right position, and Doe, I can't ignore him. He's cleaning up 3 on the point on the Barrack. When he's not getting focused, Barrack does so much damage. That's what he brings to the table as a point tank, and sometimes it's not enough, but in this game it has been. As long as they can keep buying it, just anybody on Snap and have the ability to touch, they're close-ish. It might be reincarnated, but he has to hold up and Flashpoint. Get their first point. They want to keep this snowball rolling.
That's going to be an amazing start for them, especially with Evil Eye just spamming right around that corner, trying to make sure that Dosips gets hit as much as possible, but it still wasn't enough. Didn't even lower him past half, if anything. So much pressure on the side of Flashpoint, thanks to that comeback mechanic being a factor as well. That makes it absolutely huge for Flashpoint as they're trying to round this corner. The Assert Dominance goes in and it finds a stun on the fluttering Willow. Tries to make her way out, but can't quite find it. Accursed Arm once again, but you're not going to make any sick play this time, buddy. We're going to take care of you accordingly. As now Rubu dashes all the way into the back line in a perfect positioning as well. Knows exactly where he wants to be at, drawing so many eyes, but he has to back up. His team that comes right around the corner. A perfect gourd to make sure that everybody stays alive as best they can. The 1-for-1 trade.
Everyone on Flashpoint basically walking on a tightrope right now to stay alive and make that happen. A great dodge by Bones kind of forces Rubu into the back, but Rubu changes cooldowns well enough to buy a lot of time. T-Mac rotates to help him, and they manage to stabilize, keep it up, but look at this aggression from Woodknock. I know we talk about him as the aggressive Inara, but look at how forward he is right now. Look how much room he's making for reincarnated. That's a guaranteed pick, and he might just walk away.
Yeah, that's what you type worth in the chat after you kill the DPS that was already extremely low when everybody else is looking at you. You're way, way out of position, or at least where you think a tank should be, and ends up getting that kill almost instantly. They follow that up with another nice kill on the Dosips, and Rubu being caught out is going to get taken down as well. T-Mac finds that kill on the Evil Eye, but already Snapping or cleaning up the rest of the team on Flashpoint. Oh my goodness, is he cheating? What?
Reincarnated's pretty good, man.
Yeah, that's kind of insane. The amount of headshots it is I've seen him hit is my man's using a Vax or something. I have no idea what to say about that one, but he forced them a lot. He forced them all very, very well back. And T-Mac being low health means they can't really push forward unless they get Woodknock low like they have.
And I like the pressure. He manages to walk away too because of that Furia burst heal. They want the kill so bad they walk out right to a waiting barrage from Stigma. Snappin' can keep this going. Maybe Flashpoint, they don't want to spend an ultimate. Only 17 seconds left, and a potential L on the waiting for them if they go down to 3-1. Snappin' are just rolling over them right now, but Flashpoint are going to have 5 ults strong for the fight. No barrage available. I say Flashpoint just waits and don't give Stigma any more ultra.
Yeah, T-Mac is able to at least find that kill on the Stigma, which means that they have a 3-1 score right now with Snappin', and that is really good for Snappin'. But not so great for Flashpoint. However, I will argue with the fact that Flashpoint have all their ultimates online. They were able to at least make a point capture work for them off of the back of a comeback mechanic, and maybe they might be able to do it again. Just like last round, we have Snapping coming into the fight with with 4 ultimates up except for the barrage, but this time it's at 50% as opposed to the one that we saw last round.
Yeah, and they need to maybe move in quickly with all those resources. I could see. Let me check. I have to check the build on Vex actually, really quickly to find out for sure. Okay. I think they need to speed in a King Bomb onto somebody who's not waiting for it. Get that 25% Speed Spirits boost, rush somebody down, and follow up from that. T-Mac has to find value out of it. Don't spend it as a counter ultimate. Have it as an engage. Go in deep and make that be the opening. Maker, but look, they're so split already. He doesn't get the mark in it. Time. Look, T-Mac's already getting blocked. He might just not even make it out.
Uh-oh, he can't make it out of it. He almost didn't make it out of that situation, especially with the Inflame. You see him running away. He's like, help. And they're like, help from what? You see both reincarnated. Okay, this time around, you're not going to be able to get as lucky that time, my friend. You're going to be able to make sure that he kills reincarnated, but they at least traded out 1 for 1, and that's a very good look for them. Seismic Crash, and how is a Gnar still
How is Woodnock alive?
Are you serious? How is he still alive?
Bones
Are you serious?
Wood's waiting for him right around the corner. He walls himself off. Ash doesn't know he's there. All Rubu has to do is turn around, and Woodnock is dead. He's still alive.
He's not
so
dead?
much damage. Woodnock, the DR comes back up. He lives, and Flashpoint just can't kill a single tank in the middle of their entire team.
I don't know what to say. That I don't understand how he's running at people. He's running at people, and he's living with that much HP. And Bones is healing him back up with the bone healing juice to make sure that he's completely fine.
Let's never call that again. Fawn is snapping, holding on the midpoint, walling off mid. That's in time enough for them not go in and snapping. Blame it from that. They just keep their tank alive under so much pressure. It just wins them the game.
I think Woodnock was like 58 health at one point, and during that situation, like I think he was so unbelievably low. It was absolutely ridiculous. Like I that is the type of communication and teamwork that you need to be able to see. For Woodnock to be that low and not back, that's what's so crazy to me. He didn't back off. If you need to watch it again, watch it again. With that much health,
I can't play that entire game back, Vaughn. If I could, that's what I'd watch.
From the situation of the VOD, he still ran at them. Bones still had his back despite all of that.
Yeah, this holding over there are on that corner, getting pressured by Rubu, but knowing what's important. Because if Bones runs away, right, if Bones uses the dash and goes around the corner, then Rubu turns around and kills Woodnock. Figured, hey, I'll just stand here and keep dancing. I'll probably live. I have a beam to stun if Rubu does want to spend that shoulder bash to chase me. So he's a distraction for his point tank to live through that. But I still think the way that Snappin were playing it, the way they stacked one side and kind of kept running things down, I think Flashpoint didn't react the right way. I feel like the fact that they had themselves kind of split and have one person on this far right side, knowing that Snappin might stack that T-Mac getting totally isolated, they have to spend their movement to get away. They don't have that initiation that they want. They did eventually get a kill on a Reincarnated from that, but again, they were playing really desperately there at the end. Yeah, they had to run away from a dead zone and a Faith Flighting Willow. They almost barely didn't make it out.
I agree with that 100%. Like I think you phrased it so perfectly there, because of the fact that they were able to put on so much pressure. And this is once again a very aggressive composition like the one that we saw on Splitstone Quarry. Even though the ROM is out of the equation, you still have the Inflame at your back. You still have a lot of these aggressive characters that can lead you through to a victory, and complements the play style that Snappin seemed to like to play very well.
Yeah, Snappin love having this kind of aggressive tank play, going in and making room. We'll say though, Flashpoint down with a potential loss awaiting them. Their map pick is going to be first pick on Stone Keep, and Corvus gets through.
Yeah.
Snappin is second pick. They have Corvus.
Yep.
Flashpoint, I will go into the game now. Flashpoint have chosen to take Ceres. I don't know if this was the first pick. I would assume it'd be a Nara or something to try to limit Woodnock. In general, it's kind of been a target that some teams have been running against him, but Ceres being the pick, with Damba still also available, Banswar, Vivian Victor from Flashpoint, and Zingenos again from Snappin, clearly something they're comfortable getting rid of. They now end up with a ROM Atlas composition. Maybe a little weird DPS choices here. I mean, Stigma on a sniper is never going to be weird, but Evil Eye running this Tiberius, someone we haven't seen that much of, able to have that bouncing control, potential slowdown from the sword. if they can have Tiberius go in with the ROM, they could have a great dive, especially onto the Saris, who really doesn't have an answer when pressure comes in.
Well, we'll have to see how this Saris pick will work out for them in the long run, as Dosus makes it almost immediately to point. Rom back in the hands of Woodknock as well, as he starts running, makes it out alive as Rubu tries to put pressure onto the back line. Pacheco and Rubu both staring at him, but he's being healed back up enough to where they still consider him a problem, and Stigma finds the perfect shot enough to end Rubu's life, and that's going to be huge as they're trying to push directly into the back line as well. Stigma's still alive, everyone's being sustained well as Woodknock goes down. Maybe he's one of the only members that wasn't sustained well enough, but at the same time, still good look for Snappin', as they have no percentage on the point. 48% for Flashpoint, but the kills, and it seems like the more aggressive positioning.
That's just the way that the comp works. Stigma just can't get pressured. If that scout came in earlier, maybe they hit him all the way, but the way that Flashpoint's comp works is they just sit on the objective and hold it down. Stigma, no mid-air inaccuracy. T-Mac bleeds out.
I don't know what else to say except for the fact that Dosus is one of the only members remaining on Flashpoint's team to be on the point. With that being said, that now means that Snapper are going to do this. They're just going to head forward and just push as aggressively as they can. Evil Eye finding another pick onto Pacheco means that they are now stuck in their base. Exactly what I was about to say, and a good camera switch to indicate that as well, as Rubu now has to try and go around and through Church as they dismount Dosips. Might be a little bit harder for them to make it back to point, but I can't say the same for Rubu as the squishy targets left in the back line. Woodknock does find that pick, throws out the flashbang, but doesn't find the hit. Pacheco is there, and so is Dosips, but he still goes down. Stigma is there, and nobody was able to touch in time, despite him being that close. Dosips could not touch the point, and Rubu and Pacheco follow suit soon after that.
And if you wonder where the healing was for the team to keep him sustained, there's Woodknock just standing in the face of Saris, because that's what Rom's going to do all game. Saris can't really handle pressure from a team, and when you can send in a Rom, when you can send in a Tiberius, to do that, that's all they're going to do. That's all Woodknock's going to do right now, just baiting so much damage, letting Reincarnated walk up top. He needs to make a move now, because Reincarnated is under a lot of pressure.
That's absolutely insane, as Reincarnated actually uses that rewind to make sure that they at least delay a little bit on their defense, but it's not going to be enough as Woodknock tries to make his way back out, walking through Church. Bones is up here trying to keep him alive for as long as possible, tries to make it back, provides the healing, but no, not again. I am going to say
well, that was different. No, that was different. The rest of the team couldn't chase. There was respawns, different situation, for sure.
Right, I was going to say that it was actually going to be a different situation. Wasn't exactly the same, but still live with little HP and are now able to actually make their way back to cart. That's still going to be enough for them to be able to find their footing.
Yeah, Stigma though, getting pressured. This is exactly what their comp has to do, but you need to not trade when you run into him. Rubu and Ruckus and Androxus trying to get onto Sniper can't lose that trade. You at least find one initiate from there. Rubu has Hexfire to get the hold, but he doesn't even burn through the ROM.
Unfortunate with Dosus being one of the only remaining members on the cart. Once again, you got a minute still remaining, but they may not even need a minute to finish this one off. Dusts it all off in its entirety. Finds the pit directly onto the Cassie, forces him to roll back. With that being the case, everyone is stuck at least up by their spawn. The aggression and the full send from Snappin', looking from all different angles, makes it a lot harder for Flashpoint to try and live for as long as they might want to in this defense.
I was thinking here, actually, Sarasol right now, but it looks like it doesn't connect on anybody. Exile from Reincarnated up top, sees them, and this might set up some kills for this cap.
Oh, man. Yeah, absolutely. Manages to get an exile, 2 exiles on 1 target, and with that being the case, Pacheco gets taken out, which means they don't really have any other damage to sort of deal with. Is Vex doing what he can, and so is Dosips, but Vex is one of the only members still remaining, as they cannot make their way back to cart. Snapping with a 2-0.
I love watching Deja Vu be played on Atlas off-tank. The level of control that you have on the side, so hard to push. If they do dive into you, you can see both people trying to cross that gap. So you can get away with quite a bit. Oh, this is actually my build too. Excellent. Glad to see it. Glad to see it being played. Now, it's also Bitey's, so nothing too surprising. But having sustain on Deja Vu with constant shield resets, you're very hard to poke out. Definitely a high-value build for Atlas if you're comfortable on the character. The item purchases here so far. Resilience is going to be very important for Flashpoint playing into this Atlas, but neither of the dive targets are picking it up. Rubu and Pacheco both willing to get rewound all the way back to their initial positions. Gonna have to find a way to avoid this Atlas whenever they try to make space and get on top of this Strix.
Yeah, they have to find some way to at least force more pressure onto Stigma so he can't fire as freely as he is, but, I mean, Reincarnate made his way all the way into the back. Dodge rolls out of the way and barely manages to make it. But now that he knows that Reincarnated is back there, they want to try and move onto Andros easily as they can. The Accursed Arm gets burnt directly on the Woodknock, and they actually end up losing that trade due to that. Tries to use the rewind, but doesn't find his mark. They are able to find the kill on Rubu, but Pacheco is now trying to set his sights directly onto Reincarnated. He does go down, and with 85% on point for them, for Flashpoint, it makes it a lot easier for them to try and capture. But the Corvus Ultimate almost ended up capturing that one thanks to the comeback mechanic, but they're now able to regain their footing.
You ever wonder why hit scan backlines are getting banned everywhere? It's because if you ignore them, they're going to do so much, but a flank, it looks like, onto Bones. No healing, very crucial for Snappin in this holding position. Stigma will have to rotate out, go as far away as he can to force them to burn cooldowns to chase him down. Look at this aggressive blade dance from Evil Eye right now, but there's no cauterize on this ability. I don't think he can find a single kill.
Yeah, he finds enough damage though. Rubu is at least being looked at by Stigma as well. I think that's what happened. Even though he didn't do that much damage with the blade dance, not enough cauterize like you were saying before, they are able to at least get the damage because Stigma was able to help him out a little bit. Evil Eye with a nice little double kill and Reincarnated with one. That takes care of 3 of them, and that takes care of their 3rd potential point that is now submitted as Snap to try and roll this card in.
That was one of the closest caps I've seen. Flashpoint near the end, I mean, they pulled off Woodknock. Maybe they thought they could get it. They almost had it there near the end. They were getting the picks too, but Stigma being ignored made it almost impossible. Like the aggression right now from Flashpoint, trying to do what Woodknock does, aggressive on this Inara, but look at that. Woodknock is in the backline right now on T-Mac. No backline follow-up means the tanks can't finish any of the kills.
Trying to do what he can, but ultimately can't end up killing that ROM. And with that being the case, Rubu's one of the only members remaining that has an extremely low health pool, uses all 3 of the charges of the advance to make sure he can get out, and he does, but I can't say the same for Pacheco, and now since Rubu messed that one up, he can't make it out either. Now that's a double kill for Stigma as the cart is rounding the corner and pushing through the gate into what could potentially be the 4th point for Snappin for maybe a 3-0 as Dosage drops down. He's already extremely low, but the Earthen Guard keeps him alive for a little bit longer, but how much longer is the question?
Pacheco's so close here. Look at these ultimates being spent by Flashpoint, only onto 1 member and never actually finding full value. Look right, we went to, he's stuck. Has to use the dashes, and Pacheco barely makes it out, but luckily T-Mac finding that kill will equalize, and Rubu hopes this dive can find even more.
Yeah, he's already trying to stay amongst the Corvus as much as possible, but with that being the case, yeah, the flashbang goes out from Stigma. Yeah, so just so you guys were curious,
that was not Rubu's actual aim.
Yeah, he got flashbanged by Stigma by the Strix to help heal for the Corvus when he was diving at them on the back line. He's completely okay. You don't have to worry much about that one, but what I can worry about is whether they'll be able to actually have this defense on the side of he's going up there. The Exile was being utilized as best as possible. Managed to catch it on Rubu, and they can't touch. That's it. That's snapping. That's the 3-0, baby.
That was a fantastic look from them. They played a bunch of different comps. I feel, I mean, yeah, Stigma was on Victor twice, but I feel like the goal of what they wanted to do was pretty different. In every game, we saw Reincarnated go from Androxus to Atlas and look great on both picks. Stigma playing that consistent backline. I think Snappin', great look for them, and Flashpoint. I know that some people say Flashpoint maybe not scrimming as much, maybe they're focusing on other things, but I want them to at least follow the meta or take a look at what they want their meta to be. I really don't think you can give up Corvus to a team that was looking so good with Corvus, or I don't think Ceres can really keep up with that. If they get ROM and you end up with a Ceres and they have a Corvus, the Ceres isn't really going to be able to output the heals. I think Vex did a great job for the matchup that he was put into, but you shouldn't be forced into that matchup in the first place. And Flashpoint, excuse me, have the rest of the season to look at that, and hopefully they're drafting and things change moving forward through this phase.
Yeah, hopefully that does end up being the case, of course, and we can only wish the best in terms of them trying to adapt to these situations and find out how they'll be able to go throughout this sort of course of action as the season progresses on. At the same time, congratulations to Snappin' for making sure they had a very concise and quick 3-0, bringing out a lot of aggressive plays, and still the highlight, of course, for me had to have been Inara living with barely any HP on Jaguar Falls. I had to bring it up again. It was too sick.
I'm glad we had a sick moment already in the first phase. We had some great games. I mean, even though those games are one-sided, I feel like I still like, even in Stomps, seeing good Paladins being played. You know, if it's a 3-0 and I feel like both teams are making mistakes, but one team is slipping up, it's like, all right, well, kind of a weird game to watch. But when you see one team that is just executing these last 2 games, even though they were 3-0s,
Right.
Ignite was playing fantastic Paladins. Snappin', I think, was playing great Paladins as well. And it was their style, too. It was things that these other teams aren't doing all the time, but Snappin' is making work. And that's what I love to see, teams taking the flexibility of this game and saying, we want to do this. And we're going to do it. Boom. They make it work. They make it their own. And they get dubs off it.
Yeah. And that's about pretty much all it is that you would want to be able to expect or feel at least as comfortable as you do coming into a match against some of these people that we've seen in the PPL for years. And that has to be a very confident win, a very concise, and it's just a feels good man overall for the boys on Snappin'.
Yeah, I'm excited to see their growth as we move forward in this. But 3 games today, 1 close one, 2 less close, but still kind of showing where the teams are going to be panning out as this season goes on. Tomorrow, Saturday, 3 p.m. EST, me and Fawn are going to be back to bring you 2 games, Clown Fiesta versus Celestial, and Pickled Pepper versus Team... Pickled Pepper, it's hard name to say, so I was trying to make sure I remembered it. Pickled Pepper versus Team Prolific. After that, from North America, like I said earlier, Fatal Ambition versus In Control. Forfeit for In Control. Fatal Ambition couldn't field a full roster. Hopefully we'll see them more as the season goes on. Thank you very much for joining us today. Me, Fawn, Dave earlier. Hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Peace.